Hello everybody, this is JudiciousFire. I'm on the iOS server. I'm going to be starting a new series today. And this series is the Journey Through Insane Dungeons 8. Insane Dungeons 8 is the most recent addition to our dungeon series here in Castle Clash. And the next series of videos are going to be looking at how to beat these dungeons. This first video in the series, it is going to be oriented towards discussing the dungeons themselves, the strategy behind the techniques I'm using to get through these dungeons, the heroes that we're going to be using and why, pets, talents, enchantments, traits, how we equip our heroes in order to be successful in what is a pretty advanced game mode. These Insane Dungeons, we'll start with philosophy first. The Insane Dungeon 8 series, based on my opinion, is it's a dungeon series that I don't believe the majority of players are able to beat to the 100% degree at this time in Castle Clash. I look at these Insane 8 series very much like a proving ground, almost like a beta test. And IGG has done this in prior occasions. I think they did it with Forgotten Trials about a year ago. They release a game mode or a series of game modes that are more difficult than our current heroes can handle. And I think it's that same way with Insane Dungeon 8. There are enemies on these boards that no hero in Castle Clash is able to defeat. Simply looking in the direction of some of these demons can turn a Levanica into dust. There is no way to beat those enemies. Now, there are ways to get around the enemies. There are ways to accumulate flames or progress in the dungeons on in the Insane 8 series without completely driving yourself crazy. That's the philosophy behind this video series. I am not by any means going to be promising any of you or myself 3 flames on each stage of these dungeons. No. If I direct your attention to the top right-hand corner of the screen, I have currently 860 flames. When you begin the Insane 8 series, you would have accumulated 840 flames. There are 30 flames in total available in this series, so I'm missing 10 flames. I find that repeating the same dungeon stage over and over again and going through this domino effect in Castle Clash, where you have to set up all of these series of events, a chain of events, if you will. And if there's even 1 moment of space between them, the entire structure falls. I find that to be a mind-numbing game mode. So I thought to myself about 2 weeks ago, I should put together a video series that is going to be as user-friendly as Insane 8 can possibly be. So these dungeons that I've made my way through over these last 2 weeks have each resulted in accumulating 2 flames. And 2 flames without tearing my hair out, without cursing the Castle Clash gods, and without having to use any kind of adult language. So a nice user-friendly series where those who have gotten to this stage, where you're able to accumulate these flames and work on that 3rd flame as time goes on. If you're ever bored in a game mode or during the course of clashing, or you have an extra moment, you click on that last dungeon, you get that 3rd flame. That's what I'm doing right now. So let's try to get to that point. And that is the philosophy behind this. I have a reward waiting for me, but I'm not going to collect it until I can hopefully get to 30 flames. Whether that be now or it be after they've released a few new heroes, talents, abilities, upgrades in this game, I don't know. But I'm going to try to let it sit there for as long as possible. I'm going to back out. As far as the strategy that is concerned here, And we'll go into detail in a few moments. But the strategy itself is to, if you can't beat the enemies waiting for you, then how about having the enemies beat themselves? We are going to use a technique of deflection, where a specific hero is hit with what could be damage into the hundreds of millions. But the hero himself does not take damage. He deflects it, and he's going to send that damage back at his attackers. We're going to try to get these enemy heroes to wipe themselves out on their own attack. So we're going to use their best abilities against them. That's strategy or technique number one. The next technique we're going to be looking at in this video is something that I'm going to call baiting. It's very much like going out and fishing. Okay, you bait a hook, you provide some sort of a lure that is going to attract the attention of the fish. The fish will then come to you. At no time during this fishing process are we diving into the lake and getting wet. We're not chasing the fish. The fish are going to come to us. We're going to use that same technique in the Insane 8 series. We're going to bait the enemy, and we're going to provide some tasty morsels for them to chew on, and it's going to make them come out of their little holes. And when they do, we're going to use that deflection strategy. Hopefully with that, it will allow us to acquire at least 2 flames on every stage of these dungeons. And lastly, we're going to look at our heroes. Our heroes and our full setup. That includes not only heroes and their equipment, but what we carry with us into combat. So let's start there. Let's start with what we need before we even get started on opening up the dungeon screen. We're going to need guardian troops from our army camps. So hire yourself to full capacity, as many guardian troops as you can get. You're going to need them. In addition, there is a wonderful feature that I have talked about on video before. It's been a little while since I've gone slogging through the dungeons, but I want to remind everybody and remind myself, because I never want to go into battle without it. When you click on your guild building, you'll get 4 tabs. You go into Guild Turf. So your Guild Turf screen, you go into Magic Bureau. Now, I have set these buildings in this particular fashion because the buildings in the back, those back 3, are utterly meaningless. They serve no purpose in Castle Clash. They're just a different way to access a basic screen. The 2 in front, one, the Treasury building, you collect your... you can see your collection rate in terms of those guild boxes that you get every once in a while. It's really no big deal, but at least it's something that serves some purpose. I bring this building up into the front, Magic Bureau, to focus the attention of those who visit the Guild Turf. Go into Magic Bureau, hit enter. You have 3 flags to choose from. Each one costs a couple of credits. You have a Riches flag, gives you extra gold and mana during raids. That's useless. You have yourself a Protection flag. Now, this protection will only provide a protection effect to the little guardian troops, not to your heroes. But it will provide 20% damage protection to your guardians. Now, I have also said this on video before. This is a useless flag. Nobody cares about the health of a guardian troop, okay? One shot, they're out. But on this series, okay, we need all the help that we can get. So we're going to give ourselves 20% protection for our little guardian friends. The last flag. It is Moxie, and it will give your heroes 20% damage protection in combat. It will last for 1 full hour. So let us, together, never forget to use a Moxie flag when trying to make progress in a new dungeon stage. That can be on the ordinary dungeons, expert, any level of insane. If you're trying to move forward and collect flames or progress in the dungeons, make sure you have a Moxie flag. Okay, we've got our troops. We've got our Moxie flag. Let's take a look at our heroes. I have arranged 6 heroes at the bottom of the board. I have used, over the last 3 days, preparing to film this video, I have used a variety of heroes. I used Dread Drake. I was able to do significant enough damage with old school Dread Drake. And not a super high max level Dread Drake, but able to do enough damage in combination with other heroes that I was able to acquire 2 flames. So you can use Dread Drake, but I have to tell you, okay, it was the most mind-numbing, repetitive process that you could possibly imagine. It took the RNG gods shining down upon me before Dread Drake's final cannonball took out that last tower. So it can be done with Dread Drake. It can be done with Commodora. I found it much, much easier to do damage in the dungeons with Commodora. But Commodora's ability to smash up a base, that drop anchor, it only will function if she is under direct attack. And the kind of direct attack where I had to drop her first on the board in order to get any use out of Commodora. By doing so, it really did mess up my whole chain of events that I have going here. I found it's possible, it's doable, but again, it was far more difficult with Commodora. So she is an option, but not a preferred hero to use in this game mode, I have found. I did it with a couple of other heroes, the help of Michael, rather than PD or Cupid. I also did it with PD, Cupid, and Michael. I tried Walla Walla because Walla provides a big attack boost to your team. I tried all 4 of these tremendous buffers in the game of Castle Clash. And I buffed my Minotaur Chieftain to the point where the man was infused with gamma radiation. He was like the Hulk. But even then, Minnow was unable to provide enough damage in the time period that he was alive to actually 3-flame one of these dungeons on his own, being the primary damage dealer. So I was able to get 2 flames with this super quadruple buff on Minnow, but I was unable to get that 3rd flame. Minnow would turn to dust. So in terms of the preferred team, now, I'm not saying the best team, a team anybody has to use. I'm saying for my heroes, my style of play, and the strategy that I'm about to employ, I have found these 6 heroes to be the most reliable, to be used if you're going to try to make, as I'm trying to right now, somewhat of a reasonable process of accruing flames or progress in the dungeons. So I hope that's what this video series is going to be. Each of the next videos in the series will simply be, and it won't be of a great length, it'll be me using these 6 heroes in each stage of Insane 8. I will not be changing talents. I will not be changing insignias, pets. I'll be making no change to this strategy or to this equipment in any way. I do that for uniformity through 8.1 through 8.10. So if you watch this first video, then you'll be able to see the team I'm using and why. And then you can watch each of those upcoming videos if you're interested in making progress in that specific dungeon. So here we go with our team. I have laid them out in what I would think is the preferred drop order. Now, IGG Castle Clash has still not yet allowed us to choose the order in which we introduce heroes on the board. I'm just going to jump to a raid real quick just to show you very, very briefly here. Okay, 1993, one of the great players in Castle Clash. I always love the bases. And I'm not actually attacking you. 1993 is probably going to think I was drinking after this. I just want to show you that the game selects the heroes based on a variety of criteria. That's not important for this video. But I'm going to have Atlanacor first in my queue. Now, if I choose to have, I'm clicking on Pumpkin Duke right now. If I choose to pick PD as the first one that I drop onto the board, and I keep holding the button down, the next hero that will drop will be the one at the top of the queue, and then all the way down. So I drop PD, hold him down, and all of a sudden my next hero to drop out on the board is going to be Atlanacor, followed up by Cupid, Minnow, Laz, and then Cosmo. I have no way of changing that. You can augment hero levels, etc., but that's not something I'm willing to do. I would rather have my heroes as they are and just be able to change the drop order. I've been asking for this for years, just be able to switch these guys around. The reason I'm mentioning drop order is this. This list right here of one beginning with Atlanacor and going all the way up to Cupid at the very end, from left to right, that is the preferred drop order if you're going to use this team. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to recreate that. I will not be able to drop my heroes in this specific order. The game modes, time, the fact that I'm being attacked by creatures that can do me 100 million damage, it's going to prevent me, in most cases, from being too picky and choosy about how I can drop my heroes. If I pause in between heroes in order to choose another one and create my own specific drop order, I'll find that the first hero that I put out on the board has already been turned to dust. So you're going to have to, with this scenario, you're going to have to take what you get. Okay, that's what I told me as I'm slogging through the dungeons. I said, I'm going to take what I get. I'm hoping that I'm going to get lucky, and I'm hoping that one of these guys is going to buff the right hero, and RNG is going to work in my favor, and I'm going to be able to move on. And that was the case. So my drop order in the next several videos will not be the preferred drop order, but it will be reality, okay? If you were to be able to command drop order from left to right, we have ourselves Atlanacor. I'm going to look at heroes, then talents, and the rest of the shebang. Atlanacor is going to do one thing and one thing only. Deflect damage. He's going to put a shield up. That shield will take damage into the hundreds of millions, but it will send that damage back at the attacker. During that time, Atlanacor will take no damage, but he's going to send it all straight back at the bad guys. This is the deflect strategy that we're going to be employing, and the primary core of that strategy is our man Atlanacor. I want to point out something about Atlanacor. Atlanacor skill to deflect damage is based on his skill level. So at level 10 skill, he's going to do a really nice job at deflecting damage. Great length of time, everything's all well. At skill level 12, max current level in the game, he's going to do an even better job. But when it comes to his hero level, his destiny level, his breakthrough level, none of these things are going to affect or influence his deflect skill. Nothing you can do to make that deflect skill even better. You're going to find that theme throughout many of the heroes that I've chosen. There's nothing that we can do as Castle Clash players to make Atlanacor put his shield up for an extra 5 seconds. It is what it is based on his skill level. So if you have an Atlanacor that you're going to try to take up over the next couple of weeks, months, years of Castle Clash, and I suggest you do. He's used in many advanced game modes. I would begin with focusing in on skill level. Lower hero level Atlanacor will function just as well as a high level if the skill level is up there at max. Atlanticor is not immune to stun. Atlanticor is not able to heal himself. So this shield is all he's got. Let's keep that in mind. Let's move on. We'll go back to the rest in a little bit. Next guy. Next guy is Lazulix. Lazulix does many things. Not worried about those. We are concerned with just one thing when it comes to Laz. Laz is about the only hero that I have found in the annals of Castle Clash that is able to actually survive these rooms. And when I say survive, it's brief. He is allowed a few extra seconds inside of these dungeons. And I'm going to just hop in here super quick just to show you some of these dungeons. Let's just pick one random in the center. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Okay. Inside of these dungeons, I would very much liken this to it's like the vacuum of space. Okay? The only thing that's going to keep us alive in the vacuum of space is our spacesuit. Well, our spacesuit is going to be this Guardian Angel spell. All right? While we have Guardian Angel operating, we've got our spacesuit on. The moment Guardian Angel ceases to function, all of us will die. That's what the vacuum of space will do to you. So I kind of look at these rooms in that way. The only hero I have found thus far who is able to survive for any length of time outside a Guardian Angel spell is Laz. Laz puts up a shield. That shield makes him invulnerable. And for a good length of time. I have him set up in a way so his shield is able to save him when he is in the abyss of space. We're out there in that room without shielding. We've got ourselves Cosmo. Now, Cosmo has been chosen for many different reasons. I'll go over the big ones. He does a lot of base damage. If his base damage happens in the right place, it's always landing randomly. In addition, Cosmo helps me to create a team. And that team is a neutral warden team. Our warden system is based on red, green, and white. If you use 3 reds, 2 greens, and 1 white, you've got majority red. You're going to have a red warden team. If you have more than 50% of your heroes in a certain color faction, your team is represented then as that color. Now that can be very helpful to you, but it is very detrimental to you here in the Insane 8 series. If you choose to make a color-specific warden team, what you're going to find is that the immediate activation of the warden will get the first hero, at a minimum, the first hero you drop out on the board will be killed immediately. Even under the effect of Guardian Angel, because there's about a 1-second pause before that thing kicks in. That is a fault of our warden system. They took away artifacts, they put in wardens. They gave every warden ability a revitalize. So it activates immediately once you drop your hero out on the board. Once that warden goes off, it causes damage to the enemies on the board. They, and many of them have reflect, they then reflect that damage back at one or more than one of our heroes, and our heroes instantly die. So what you want is a neutral team, 2 of each color, green, white, and red. So Cosmo helped me to create that while also doing really nice dungeon or base damage. Next, in the preferred drop order, 4th we would drop, is Minotaur Chieftain. Now, I used Little Nick, and I was able to get 2 flames, but again, I was on my 2nd pot of coffee, and I was asking myself why I don't take up solitaire. So it is possible, but you're really going to have to hit the jackpot in order to get Little Nick to get you through. it would be preferred if you had a Minnow. Minnow's going to do a heck of base damage. He is a base smasher. He's a dungeon man. And he's going to hit up to 55 buildings at a time. Problem is with Minnow, just like all of our other heroes, except for Laz, all of our heroes only get one chance to activate their skill. So you're not going to get a second hit from Minnow. So you got to make that first hit count. So Minnow, and he is set up in such a way, I'll go into the details, but he's set up in such a way to make that first hit count as much as possible. Next we have our buffer. Fifth hero that I would preferably like to drop out into the board, and that's going to be Pumpkin Duke. Pumpkin Duke's going to give us a big attack bonus, make us stronger. Pumpkin Duke does other things, but none of them are going to help us in the way we're going to be engaging in these dungeons, okay? We're just after Pumpkin Duke's ability to make really just Minnow stronger. Make Minotaur even a better Minotaur than he already is. Last on the board, our final buffer, sixth hero, Cupid. Cupid is going to give us a huge damage boost, somewhere around the 70% more damage range. Cupid does other things, including giving us a big energy boost, and that's going to be helpful to one hero. But none of our heroes are going to get a chance at a second skill activation. So Cupid is there for the damage buff primarily. So I've got 2 green, 2 red, 2 white, a neutral warden team, 6 heroes. Okay, let's look at talent. Atlanticore is not immune to stun naturally. There's nothing we could do to make his deflect shield any better than it is. So really, we could pick any time. We could have it enlighten on this man, and it will make no difference in terms of his shield. But one thing that will make a difference is the Iron Will. It will stop him from getting stunned up. Give him a stun immunity. Keep those stun towers from stopping him in his tracks. It'll only last for 18 seconds, but Atlanticore won't get to 18 seconds. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. Iron Will is the preferred, primary talent to be using on each of these heroes throughout the dungeon series to grant that stun immunity. Now, the other primary recommended talent is going to be Revitalize. Revitalize is going to give each of our heroes the ability to activate his or her skill immediately. We need that. If it doesn't happen right away, then we've lost. So you need Revitalize, and I would highly recommend the Iron Will. Okay, so if you had to choose between one or the other, I would go with Revitalize, because you've got to activate your skill in order to stand a chance. But if you don't want to have to be tearing your hair out trying to avoid stun towers, I would also, somewhere in insignia form or talent, go with the Iron Will. On Laz, we are doing something a little bit different. We're using Laz in a different way. We're going to try to get Laz to live as long as possible. We are doing that with a revive. And the revive can be at, it could be a 5 revive. If you can get a second life out of Lazulix, it's going to really benefit you. And it will mean the difference between getting a 44% complete and getting a 51% complete and just being able to move on to the next dungeon. So give yourself the ability to bring Laz back with a revive. It could be in crest or insignia form. You have got to give Laz a revitalize. He's got to activate his skill right away. So one combination or use of the other depending on what is available to you. Next, Cosmo. Cosmo, just like Atlanticore, we are putting a Iron Will on Cosmo. Cosmo's skill description is very clear. When he activates his skill, this Twilight Bubble, when he does that, he becomes immune to such things as freeze and petrify and all this this nonsense. Okay, sure. But until he gets that bubble up, and that can be a millisecond before his skill activates, well, in that millisecond, he can get stunned up. He can also get turned to dust in that time. So I have found through trial and error, and about 6 granola bars, I have found that the preferred way of going is to at least have the option of getting the Iron Will in there, just so you can give Cosmo the chance to activate his Twilight Bubble and gain that natural stun immunity. If he hasn't done that, he's dead. So somewhere on him, try to get an Iron Will. You need a Revitalize. The Revitalize is going to let him put that Twilight Bubble up the moment he hits something. It's in the moment that you've dropped him on the board up until the point that he hits something that he's vulnerable from the stun. So Revite and Iron Will. We move on. Minotaur. He would be the 4th I put on the board. I have an Unholy Pact on him. The Unholy Pact is currently in the game the highest damage increasing talent that we have available. At this level, 9 Unholy Pact, he's going to do 190% extra damage. Now, he's going to take more damage in return, but I've always felt this way about Minnow. I can't rely on him to activate his skill a second time. I want him to smash up the base and then get out of there, okay? And if that means getting out of there is him dying, well, that's the way it's got to be. So I just try to make him do as much damage as possible right away. I believe that the Iron Will in Insignia form, or if you want to run an Iron Will main talent, that's great for Minnow too. Maybe put the Unholy Pact as an Insignia. Any way you want to do it, any combo is fine, but you've got to give him the stun immunity provided by the Iron Will. Now notice we do not have Revitalize on Minnow. He is the only hero that we're going to be running in this dungeon series where there's no Revite. Well, he has no Revite because we do not want his energy to be at max. In fact, we want his energy to be rather low. I will get into that in a little bit. Next, we have ourselves Pumpkin Duke. Okay, Pumpkin Duke is our one of our primary buffers, so I put the Iron Will on him. I know that makes no sense whatsoever, but just like Atlanticor, there is no way to affect Pumpkin Duke's buff. We cannot put a talent that's going to make him buff to a higher degree. We can't augment his traits in any way to make him buff our team more successfully. So really, we're just choosing a talent that's going to allow him to use his skill. Iron Will has been one of the preferred talents on Pumpkin Duke since it was introduced in the game because it prevents him from getting all stunned up. Now, Pumpkin Duke's skill clearly indicates that it will increase attack, and that's all we're going for. Forget the rest. Our heroes won't live that long to benefit from that. But it's going to make our team stronger. Now, when it activates, he will gain immunity to stun for 3 seconds. So, the answer to the question, why have stun immunity with Iron Will on a PD who's going to be granted stun immunity? Well, the answer is he's going to be granted. He isn't granted it yet. Just like Cosmo, he actually has to activate his skill before that stun immunity kicks in. Well, he can be all stunned up or turned to dust in that time. So put an Iron Will in Insignia or talent form, and you can not worry that he is going to get all stunned up in these dungeon series. The Revitalize, just like the other heroes, is absolutely essential. If you've got a Revite PD, great, okay? You come up with an Iron Will Insignia. Even a basic level Iron Will Insignia is going to give you plenty of stun immunity. If you get just 8-10 seconds, you're fine. PD's not going to live that long. Okay, so just give him the ability to be stun-free and give him a Revite for instant skill activation once he actually hits something. Last, we have our Cupid. Nothing we do can affect Cupid's skill ability. He's always going to give us about 70% extra damage. Doesn't matter what talent we choose in this scenario. Just like with PD, the Iron Will has always been one of those recommended talents. Keep your Cupid from getting stunned up in the dungeons. Keep your Cupid from being constrained by that stun that the towers inflict on us. So, in insignia or talent form, put a Iron Will on your Cupid. Can be a level 3 insignia Iron Will. No problem, okay? Just give him a couple of seconds where he's stun free. The Revitalize is going to be essential. Let him use his skill immediately. Pets. I drop Atlanticor first out on the board. This is Glacy. Atlanticor already has stun immunity from the Iron Will, but Glacy, and I just made a pet guide, okay? I've been working on pets for so darn long. Glacy is going to provide a really nice launching pad for our heroes. Glacy's going to ice up the buildings around us. And those buildings can include towers of many different kinds. It's going to give us a safer landing zone, if you will, with our heroes. Glacy is also going to do a little bit of damage in the dungeons. And Glacy can be, though it is just a small percentage, Glacy can be responsible for 1% damage in these dungeons. And 1% can be easily dismissed. But if you're at 49, okay, or you're at 50 and about to skip over to another flame perhaps because you're about to take out the town hall, you would want that extra 1%. We need all we can get. So we're going to get ourselves a Glacy. We're putting it on our Atlanticor. Laz. Laz is the one that's going to survive the longest. Not just because of his skill ability, but because of that revive. Laz is going to be out there simply to be a carrier for Doom Balloon. Doom Balloon is going to be the one really doing the damage against these dungeon buildings. Doom Balloon is going to be responsible for, perhaps 10% of our base damage in total. Once we can accumulate enough, we can move on, and that's what we're designing these series around. So put a Doom Balloon on your Laz. Doom Balloon is actually going to be able to work multiple times on Laz because he's the one that's able to survive the longest. Okay, we have Rudolph. Rudolph is there for two things. Rudolph is there for the removal of conditions, negative things that happen to us, and a lot of bad things are going to be happening to us. And also for the minuscule chance that the heal that is provided is actually going to keep one or more of these heroes alive for a few seconds longer. That's really the only reason we have Rudolph. Now, he's a pet that only activates when the hero is under attack. Doesn't matter the drop order. Everybody's going to be under attack. You can, not reliably, but I would say you can successfully, giving it a couple of tries, get these pets, even when they're restrained by the attack status, get them to work. You're going to be hit from all sides. You'll be fine. That condition removal can make a difference. Works a lot in some ways a lot like Walla Walla's condition removal. So Cosmo with Rudolph. Punching Box. Punching Box does different stuff. But Punching Box is going to give Minnow the ability to smash this dungeon up by buffing him with extra damage. Okay, it's going to make him stronger. So we're going to make sure that is on Minnow. Make your Minnow stronger with Punching Box. Okay, on PD, I have Fennec Pet. Now, you can have any healing pet. The healing pet on Cosmo, Rudolph, the healing pet on PD. I'll introduce a third healing pet in a moment. Those healing pets. They can really be any of the healing pets. You don't have to have all of them. In the case of healing pets, in most cases, the strength of the hero will affect the ability of the pet. So stronger hero, stronger pet effect. You got a weak hero, it's going to be a weaker pet effect. So I have distributed these healing pets based on the attack or the damage that my heroes do. My biggest attacker, strongest attack effect is PD. That's why I put Fennec on Pumpkin Duke. I feel that Fennec is the best healing pet. He's going to block a negative status, maybe like a silence from happening. So I just want him attached to the hero that has the strongest attack damage, other than Minotaur Chieftain. So I put Fennec on PD. I think that's a good pairing. Go back to Rudolph. My second highest attack damage, and Rudolph, in my opinion, is the second best healing pet. I put the second best healing pet on the hero that does the second most amount of damage, with the exception of Minnow, which I knew I had to have punching box. I know that much. Okay, so Cupid, third healing pet. Mini Angie. Cupid has a lower attack ability than Pumpkin Duke and Cosmo. So I put, in this case, what would be my third best healing pet to use. I put that on Cupid. The lowest attack goes with the least consequential healing pet. So I put it on me. I put Mini Angie on him. It's going to give a little heal, yeah, sure, but it's going to lower the damage taken by one hero, and we hope that that's going to make some kind of a difference. Now, when it comes to enchantments, remember, nothing we can do is going to help Atlanticore with that shield. I have a Cursed Battlefield. The way I looked at it is this. I've been running Cursed Battlefield on Atlanticore for a long time now. I've never decided to change it. I think it's great. If you put Atlanticore out there and he's deflecting damage, springing it back at the enemy, why not have all the enemies on the battlefield take 10% more damage? It was the only way that I figured out that I could make Atlanticore even more deadly. I can't affect his skill, so give him an enchantment that's going to affect the enemy heroes. Now, in terms of his traits, and you can have traits of any kind on Atlanticore. Atlanticore's a deflector. I said, well, he's going to be... I want him to survive, so I went with health. I stay away from dodge on anybody who's got a deflect or a reflect. This way, they can take that damage and send it all back toward the attacker. If they're dodging damage, this is why I don't have Eulophant on Atlanticore. If you're dodging the damage, then you're not going to deflect or reflect anything. So you've got to make sure that you are taking damage. I feel the same way about Ashura. I go to Laz. Go in here. Equipment. I've been running a Victory Lunge on Laz probably since I got it. It's going to make him reflect about 15% damage. That's useless here in these dungeons. It's going to give him a little bit of extra attack. That can be helpful. Dodge and health. It's no problem with Laz dodging. That's great. He doesn't, beyond the enchantment, he's not reflecting any damage back at the enemy. I go with Cosmo, make him a little stronger with the Victory Lunge. Really anything you do is going to be fine. And none of these enchantments make or break this strategy or make or break these heroes. All attack. Many different ways to run Cosmo. I think preferably you'd have a lot of dodge on Cosmo if you want to be really exact about doing this Insane 8 series. You would have a much better Cosmo than the one I'm trying to use. I have an attack Cosmo. I would much rather have dodge on him to get through these dungeons, but I'm not willing to change those enchantments or those traits. In terms of equipment on Minnow, Victory Lunge, it's going to make him more of a base buster. That's what he does. Make that even better. Attack. That's what he does. I try to make that even better. On PD, an Unbridled Fury gets him an attack speed increase. It's basically meaningless here in these dungeons. He's not going to be recharging and revving up for a second skill activation. Gives him a chance to stun an enemy. Nobody's going to be attacking him in that way. So whatever you have on your Pumpkin Duke, enchantment-wise, that'll be just fine. Traits. I have an attack PD because I like to use them in things like Archdemon. This is probably the wrong PD setup to be using for Insane 8. I would much prefer to have an all-dodge PD and have him stay away from damage so he can activate his skill. That is not the case. I'm not willing to change it. I was able to get through with this simple strategy that I'm going to try to explain in just a moment. And last, Cupid, nothing we can do is going to make him any better at doing what he does. So I gave him a little bit of extra attack and let him reflect a little bit of damage. It's kind of been how I'm running him this whole time. And he's an all-dodge Cupid. He's perfectly set up for these insane dungeons. And I always kind of felt that way about Cupid. I rarely use him, except now in dungeon scenarios. It's mostly damage cat modes in Castle Clash, and he tends to not have any real effect. So we've got each of our 6 heroes. Very, very good. Okay, let's go take a look at these dungeons, and let's take a look at something called baiting. Okay, we go into Insane 8. We get ourselves 10 dungeons, 3 flames that can be acquired on each dungeon for a total of 30 flames. We are trying to do as user-friendly as rinse and repeat, an easy a wash cycle as we possibly can, just to get ourselves all the way to 810, and then spend the next couple of afternoons when we got time. And I'll update you. Next couple of afternoons when we got time, cracking that 3rd flame on 810. Okay, let's take a look at 8-1. Let me think about this. You know what? I'm going to show you a different one to make this illustration a little clearer. Let me take a look at 8-9. Okay, let's take a look at 8-9 here. All right. On each one of these dungeon boards, we're going to have a variety of heroes. We're going to have Levanicas after us. We're going to have Dove Keepers after us. We're going to have Little Nicks that will immediately drop critical hits on us. And there could be 20 Little Nicks waiting for us. We're going to have Skeleticas, Demogorgons. We're going to have Gunslingers by the dozens. We're going to have Mahatmas that can take you out with one hit. So basically all the rudest of rude heroes in all of Castle Clash will be waiting for us. The only heroes that we're truly concerned with in this dungeon series are these 2 in the center. Let's zoom in on them. See these 2 giant demons? They're able to instantly turn your heroes into dust the moment you drop them on the board. These demons, in my opinion, cannot be beaten. They cannot really even be injured by any hero in Castle Clash. And it's designed that way. We are not here to do, if you watch my Guild Wars videos, I'm about to commit a mortal verbal sin here. We are not out to do hero damage. We're out to do base damage. Okay, we want to smash up the base without even getting near those heroes. And then we want to go home. That's all we're out to do. So these giant demons almost look like archdemons. They're the ones we have to be concerned with on each stage. It doesn't matter which stage you choose. Let's pick another one. There will be those demons. Look at this one. There will be those demons. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I think I've seen as many as, maybe more, 5. I think I've seen as many as 8 of these guys on a level. These are the guys we have to worry about. Not worry about any of the others. Let's go to, go back to 9 for a second. And let's take a look at something called baiting. Okay. We have to bring the heroes to us. We have to bring the enemy towards us, just like we would bring a fish towards us. We're not diving into the water chasing after the fish. The fish is going to come to us because we got a lure or bait that we're throwing out there to get his attention. There are dove keepers on 9 out of 10 of these levels. We are going to use Dove Keeper's Love Doves as a wall, a brick wall to smash our fists. We are going to use those Dove Keeper Love Doves to activate our hero skills, to charge up our energy if we're lucky enough to get a second skill activation. We're going to use Dove Keeper's Love Doves 9 out of 10 of these dungeons as an invulnerable shield in which to let our heroes do what they do best, activate their skill. We can't do that against the walls. We can't do that against the heroes. We aren't going to be able to directly engage the archdemons flying in the center. The only heroes that we can fight against are Dove Keeper's Love Doves. They're the only things that won't instantly kill us. So in order to fight against Dove Keeper's Love Doves, we have to bait them out. We have to bring them to us. Now, wherever we are choosing to drop on the board, and I'm just going to use this as an example, I'll show you in the north. Let me drop one hero. I think there's a totem up here. Can get that out of there. Okay, watch. Lower left-hand corner, do you see all the love doves that start coming out? Look at them coming toward us. Now, you see in the center there are a couple of gunslinger copters. That's not good. That would have been a failed attempt. We only want love doves to come towards us. And so we're going to bait or provide a lure with these guardian troops to try to almost paint like you do in like a old school MS Paint. You're going to paint and carry the love doves to where you want them on the board. You're going to use your troops as that bait. Let's go back and let's try it in a different dungeon. Any dungeon other than the last one. 9 out of 10 of these dungeons, this is a good technique to use. Let's look around for the dove keepers. We want to be close to the doves. Okay, I see them down here. Okay, we see ourselves. There's a dove keeper. Now let's just drop a couple of troops and watch the doves start coming towards us. Okay, we're baiting them. Now, if we wait too long, they start disappearing. The second time you try to bait them and bring them out after they've disappeared, it is much harder. Try to do this baiting technique with the first wave of doves that come in your direction. Let me restart. Let's look for the dove keeper. I see her right here. Okay, so here's a dove. I'm going to drop a couple of troops, and I'm going to try to carry her love doves from... you see where these walls are separated? There's a little road to travel. I'm going to try to bring the doves there and then kind of lure them and lead them towards the north where this corner comes together at a 90-degree angle and kind of bait these love doves in the direction, great, of the north. Very good. Now at that moment, I am able to drop my heroes atop those love doves. If I would have remained down here, that wouldn't be good for me. There are too many heroes for me to deal with and too much going on. So I try to bring the love doves to a specific place on the board that is safest for me to drop my heroes out there and get them going. Let's go to 1. Excellent. Okay. This introduction to the Insane 8 series, I'm going to start to wrap this up here at Insane Dungeon 8.1. This is where we're going to be doing the baiting for the first time. You can see already what will happen. That's why you need these guardian troops en masse. You can basically take these love doves anywhere you want to go. Now, eventually, or based on where you are on the board, you'll start to see gunslinger copters as well. You don't want this, just love doves. So we are going to be on the hunt for love doves on the next installment of this series. I'm not going to waste any time with this series in terms of production length. I'm going to try to churn these out as quickly as possible in order to get through this series for those who want to make some progress in these dungeons. So expect, probably one a day until we have gotten through these dungeons. Last but not least, in a review, this is a way to acquire not all the flames in the Insane Dungeon 8 series, but it is a way to acquire the majority of the flames. If you run that Revite, run that Iron Will, run those buffs, buff up your minnow. It can be done with Little Nick, but you're going to need 2 cups of coffee and 6 granola bars. If you're willing to do that and you're willing to take some time slogging through the dungeons, then this can be a good technique in order to make advanced progress. If you've been playing this game for a long time, then you already know that the prior levels in any dungeon series, they're of course important, but they're not as important as the one with the blue cap. That is the one that you will be able to sweep again and again and again to acquire a massive experience boost as well as a massive shard boost. So we are on our way to trying to get a total of 30, currently 20, and I hope that these techniques that we're going to be going over through each stage of the Insane series is going to help you out in your gameplay. Okay, I'll check you out on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and bye-bye.